girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I like the girls with their nails done. Girls with their nails done.
And it just ends, just like that. Hey, what's going on? Welcome into the Voice of College Football, West Virginia style. I'm Joey Foster. Tonight, the Coos from Coos' Corner will be joining me at some point in the show. I'm not sure when, but he said he would be here with us for a little while. So we're just going to talk and hang out, and we're going to talk about some West Virginia football. But before we get into that, I wanted to address some baseball news. How about this? How about it? All right, so West Virginia in the draft, Major League Baseball draft. I mean, just amazing. Really, I mean, we had a good team, a good baseball team. Really proud of them. And I know very little about baseball. I mean, of course, I know just about as much as the average person, but I've not been a baseball fan since the early 80s. All right, so I'm not really up with what's going on. But guess what? J.J. Weatherholt, first-round draft pick, 7th pick overall, shortstop, first round out of West Virginia, pick value of $6,823,700. He had a signing bonus of $6,900,000. And that signing bonus is $2.5 million more than Alek Manoah, the 11th round overall pick in 2019, who signed with the Blue Jays. And he was the 11th overall pick, and it's $2.5 million more than him. It's just amazing. All right, so then David Hageman, right-hand pitcher. He went in the 4th rounds to the Ranger. Pick value $530,400, a signing bonus of $515,000. Aiden Major, right-hand pitcher. He went 5th rounds to the Guardians, 146 overall. Pick value of $466,900. Signing bonus of $425,000. Derek Clark, left-hand pitcher, went in 9th round to the Angels. Well, we had a lot of pitchers drafted, didn't we? 262nd overall. Pick value $197,500. His signing bonus is only $1,000, so I don't know if it's a typo or if that's what his signing bonus was. This is the shocker. This one right here is the shocker to me. Tyler Swatkowski. Look, I didn't watch but one baseball game this year for West Virginia, so I apologize. Left-hand pitcher, 16th round to the Giants, 478th pick overall. Here's the thing about it. He wasn't on the Fountain Mountaineers at the end of the season. He wasn't even part of the final Mountaineer team. But he signed with the Giants for more than the expected value of his draft slot. So at 16th in the 16th round, the 478th pick overall, he gets $162,500 signing bonus. Makes him the highest paid pick by the Giants in this year's draft of any player chosen outside the top 8 rounds. So, he's turned some heads somewhere. That's amazing. So, anyway, hats off to West Virginia Mountaineers and the Major League Baseball draft. Now let's get on to some football talk. You want to? I'm gonna post a link right here in the chat, just in case anybody would like to join in, talk some Mountaineer football. Love to have you. So come on in. We'll just talk a little bit. So, topic tonight. What have you? Let's break down the Mountaineers. Can they win the Big 12? Um, so here's what my thoughts are on West Virginia this year. I've been a Mountaineer fan for a very long time. Since the '70s. Um, Became a major fan in the '80s, obviously, like a lot of people did in the '80s. But I was going to games in the '70s. Maybe I couldn't call myself a fan, but I was going to games. I can remember nearly every season. Maybe I can't name every player anymore, but I can remember every season. I can remember the games. I can remember the brawls. I can remember the Syracuse and West Virginia game back when Major Harris when Syracuse quarterback Graves threw the football and hit our player in the back of the head. They throw out like 4 or 5 of our players and didn't throw out hardly anybody for Syracuse except somebody that didn't even matter. And Syracuse goes on to win the game. I can remember those games. I remember brawls back then. Maryland, I can remember being down to Maryland in the fourth quarter, 20-some points, and coming back and winning that game. I've been a fan for a long. This team right here, I don't know where to put them. I don't know where to rank them. If I look at them on paper and when I think about it in my head, they remind me a lot of the 2005 Mountaineers. Because we had Pat White, we had Steve Slayton. So we had Pat White, scrambling quarterback, really good, fast, speedy, shifty. Probably a better running quarterback than Garrett Green, but Garrett Green probably the better passing quarterback, and I think everybody would agree with that. Although Pat White had a good arm, really, he had a great arm. But I think I would give the passing to Garrett Green, the running to Pat White, just because of his speed. I mean, he had amazing speed. So this team would compare that to me because of that and the fact that Jaheim White in our backfield as fast as Steve Slayton, in my opinion, as fast as Steve Slayton. Probably as good as Steve Slayton. The problem with Steve Slayton was he had been into some health issues, with his wrist. I can remember that during the Louisville game. I think it was 2006, the Louisville game. So this team reminds me a lot of 2005, 2006 Mountaineers, not the 2007 Mountaineers. I don't think they're that good, but the 2005 or 2006 Mountaineers, I think they kind of remind me of them. So is that good enough to win the Big 12? I'd like to know what your thoughts are out there. Tell me, is that good enough to win the Big 12 if we can have a fielded team that's as good as the 2006 West Virginia Mountaineers? I mean, so when we're breaking these players down and I'm looking and comparing players, that's the closest I can come to, because if I went back to Major Harris and Andre Johnson, for instance, well, Andre Johnson was a big back, and he was like a C.J. Donaldson, sure, but Major Harris was Major Harris, and Major could run and pass, and there couldn't nobody stop either one of them. So there's probably no comparison there, in my opinion. So, hey, look here, I got Mr. Coos Welker coming in with. Hey, Coos, what's going on, brother?
What's up?
Hey, man. I was just talking. I was comparing this team, and I'm thinking about where I thought this team would fit in the realm of things with West Virginia football history.
Mhm.
And I was talking about how I've been watching West Virginia football since the '70s, and the team that comes to mind for me would be the 2005, maybe 2006 team. Going
Mhm.
into those seasons, I don't think they're as good as the 2007 team. But
No,
I think they could be as good as the 2006 team and maybe better than 2005 team. So somewhere between there is my thought
that's
on
fair.
where. And I was saying that um, if I'm comparing quarterbacks, so like Pat White versus Garrett Green, Pat White the better scrambler, better runner, and faster. Garrett Green probably the better passer, Although Pat White could sling that ball, and I'm
Yeah.
not taking nothing away from Pat White. But I think Garrett Green probably reads the defense a little bit better than Pat White did throwing the ball down the field. That's
Yeah.
just
Yeah. I think Pat was an underrated passer. I mean, he was really accurate. I don't think he didn't have a strong arm. I don't think as Garrett does, but he was pretty accurate with the ball when he did throw it. He was probably, I think Pat was a better thrower of the short and intermediate stuff, and Garrett's better down the field. If I had to,
right.
that's just my take on it. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's hard to. I do think Garrett has a chance to have a historic year as a quarterback. I mean, he's got all the tools. He ran for 13 touchdowns last year. So I mean, if he can even duplicate what he did a year ago from a running perspective, and then improve on his passing from a completion percentage perspective, I think the sky's the limit for this offense. Really.
Yeah, I agree. And I've been telling people, anybody that'll listen, I've been saying, even because they're like, yeah, but you're somebody said today, well, you're a two-trick pony. You've got Garrett Green, and you've got your running backs. And if Garrett Green goes down, you don't have anybody. And I'm sitting there going, oh no, 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 because I would trust Nico Marchio with this offense 100%, and
Yeah,
I think Neil
absolutely.
Brown does as well.
Yep.
We've seen that last year when Garrett Green went down in the pit game. Nico come in, he led us right on to victory, no problem. And the next week, took care of was it TCU or Texas Tech? Texas Tech.
TCU.
TCU.
Oh,
Okay.
Texas Tech. No, it was Texas Tech. I'm sorry.
Texas Tech,
TCU was
yeah.
the week after.
Yeah, and so he took care of Texas Tech. So yeah, I have complete faith and confidence in Nico Marchio should that happen.
Correct.
I think we're deep. I believe we're deeper than people think at nearly every position. I think our weakness may be wide receiver. We could be a little bit deeper. I'm not saying that we don't have good wide receivers. I think we need some more experience there, right? I
Right.
think there's some
That's
more
fair.
experience needed. I think in the secondary and the defensive back area and stuff, I think we need a little bit of improvement there. But I think we brought in some great transfers. I'm looking forward to seeing that and stuff. So, is our defense going to be up to par to that 2006 defense? 'Cause that 2006 defense was pretty daggone good back then.
Yeah.
We had pretty good defenses up through that era as well. So, if I looked at our defense right now and I had to compare it, in all honesty, better than anything Dana Holgerson ever put on the field the whole time he was here, our defense would right now be better than any of those except for maybe 2012, but that wasn't a Dana Holgerson recruited team.
Well, yeah, I was going to say too that year they won the Orange Bowl. They had, I was watching the recap of that Orange Bowl win the other day, and man, there was a lot of NFL guys on that team. Bruce Irvin was on
Right.
there. Keith Tandy, I think, was on that team. He was a really good defensive back. Just to name a couple. On the defensive side, there were some NFL dudes, and that's the one thing Neil Brown hasn't had is NFL dudes. But I think he's got some now. I mean, obviously the Steele brothers. He had Zach Frazier and Beatty last year, but I mean, outside of those guys, he really hasn't had a lot of NFL guys.
Right.
But he's finally recruiting some NFL guys and developing some NFL guys, and I think there are multiple guys on this team this year, even on defense, they could potentially get drafted. I mean, Sean Martin comes to mind. I'm thinking
Wyatt Milan is going to get
Yeah.
Now that's offense, I know, but
Yeah.
but Wyatt Milan's going to be a first round draft pick without a
Right.
doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, barring anything catastrophic.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Garrett could even get drafted. You got, Garrett and Wyatt and Tomas Remak could potentially get drafted if he decides to come out early. You've got, like I said, Sean Martin. You got Cole Taylor at tight end who could get drafted. You've got the transfers from Northwestern in the defensive secondary that could potentially go to the NFL. I mean, Aubrey Burks. I mean, you go down the line, there are guys at almost every position, just about every position, that could potentially get drafted in the NFL if they were eligible.
I agree with that 100% because you look everywhere, and even if you look out at wide receiver area, you've got walk on and Hudson Clement and Preston Fox that are absolutely amazing.
Yep.
Excuse me, they don't miss a ball that's thrown their way. These are two guys that have worked hard to get to where they are. And if they were coming out of high school today, there wouldn't be no doubt they'd be high 4 stars, maybe even 5-star recruits because they are so good at being a ball hawk
Mhm.
and grabbing that ball wherever it might land. And they fight for the ball. So I commend them too. But then you've got the big 4-star guy, Rodney Gallagher, coming in. I think he's got something to prove to me this year. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think Gallagher needs to prove to me that he was this pick that we stole from Notre Dame and Penn State that wanted him and stuff. Did we get that big player? Now I love Rodney Gallagher. I think he could be a good player. I want to see him take that next step. How do you feel about that?
I agree with that, but I think he will. I mean, he came in without having any experience basically playing wide receiver. He was a high school quarterback. So, he's having to learn the position, and that takes time. I don't think he'll necessarily be a number one guy, but I think if he can catch 20, 30 balls, and then maybe they can utilize him in the, running reverses and jet sweeps and things like that as well. I think he can come in handy there. Find creative ways to get him the ball like they did a year ago.
So can we
And
get
then
a David Seals 2017 repeat, and then maybe next year get a David Seals 2018 repeat out of Rodney Gallagher?
maybe I'd say 20. Yeah, I'd say 2017 would be more than likely, but I don't even know if I'd put him at that level because I just don't know. I think David Seals was a natural wide receiver. I mean, he had the body for it. He was 6 foot something. Rodney's not a very big guy, so he has to rely strictly on his athleticism. So it might take him a little, but you never know. I mean, he might blossom this year into a star. Who knows? But that's a good comparison, though.
Talking to Coos from Coos' Corner. Be sure Jackson Johnson's got his link right there in the chat for you guys. Coos' Corner. He's got. Well, Coos, you've got actually just come a long way in the past
Thank
few
you.
years. I mean, you've just been amazing. I've been sitting there watching you and watching you grow, and think you do an amazing job over there. I watched your interview, your 3-part interview so far. Three parts, right? That's all I've seen. 3-part.
Two part.
I thought it was 3-part for
Well,
Rim Baker.
no, it's two. The first one was I won for members only. It was
Oh,
I
okay.
put the whole interview up unedited for my members, and then
Yeah.
for my paid members, and then I cut the rest and with no ads in the middle, and then I cut it in half basically and put it out in 2 videos for everybody.
So that's why I've seen 3 parts and
Yeah.
stuff. But anyway,
That's fair.
amazing interview. I mean, fantastic. As a matter of fact, I went back and watched them again today. Watched your last part again today.
Mhm.
I watched it yesterday. Watched it today. Rim Baker, he kind of I liked when you was talking to him on this second part about the NIL, about the 20 million, the pass, and $2.5 million. But I didn't quite follow you on the $2.5 million part. When Ben Baker, do you know what I'm talking about? When Ben Baker was saying $2.5 million, all right, can you explain that to me a little bit better?
Yeah. I actually wasn't aware of it either. He educated me on that because I was under the impression that, with the new house settlement deal that's come up that they're trying to get approved, where they're going to back pay athletes for NIL and then pay current athletes profit sharing, and along with that is roster limits. They're decreasing the roster size in football from 125 to 105, but in order to do that, they had to in turn basically every player that can now get a scholarship on a team if the school chooses to do so. Well, I was under the impression that the scholarships was separate from the revenue sharing, right? It was 2 different buckets of money. Well,
Right.
according to Wren, it's not. The first $2.5 million that if you decide to add more scholarships, not just for football, but for your whole athletic department, if you decide to add more scholarships for athletes, the first $2.5 million of scholarships you give comes out of that $22 million of profit sharing money, which means you only have $19.5 million left to share with your athletes.
Oh, okay.
Which was interesting. I don't remember seeing that. Now maybe I didn't read every article out there, but I don't remember seeing that part of it anywhere until Wren laid it out. That's why I was really excited to get to that. Unfortunately, the second part of the interview, which I thought was the best part, has gotten less views than the first one because I thought that was really, really Great stuff right there.
Yeah, it was, and what got me was, it kind of told me, which was your fear, that the Blue Bloods would stockpile and just,
Correct.
they would get everybody. But the way it looks, they won't be able to stockpile.
No.
West Virginia can stockpile just as much.
I mean, they
because of
can.
that.
They can if they want to, but they're
Right.
going to have the first $2.5 million of that money is going to take out of comes out of that profit sharing money. So yeah, I mean, it's adding scholarships. It's we can't just assume that schools are going to go out here and add scholarships, because if they do that, it could hurt them on the back end for the profit sharing piece. So they're going to have to find a balance. Is okay, how many scholarships do I add versus how much do I want to share, profit share, actual, for NIL purposes. That's going to be the balance these schools are going to have to find. And now I still think the bigger schools are going to have an advantage, because they will have the money to add more scholarships and profit share, right? They'll be able to add all the scholarships and profit share and still probably have more money than the schools in the Big 12 and the ACC, right?
Right.
Talking about the SEC and Big 10. So I still think there's an advantage, but it won't, from a money perspective, but it won't necessarily be, they won't necessarily be able to stockpile talent. I don't think they'll be able to pay their coaches more money. And they could stockpile talent, but here's the thing, Joey, if they try to do that, the transfer portal is still going to be there. So if you get too many 4- and 5-star recruits on your roster, you can't play them all. They're going to transfer somewhere else where they can play. They don't want to.
And the way I look at that, the way I look at that is, and it's unfortunate the way I look at it, but I'm looking at it as a fan point of view, not a university's point of view.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm okay with a player coming out of high school with a 4- or 5-star recruit and maybe going to Alabama or Georgia or Ohio State for his first year or two and building up, and he's going to be in that weight program and stuff, and then transferring out, and West Virginia can pick him up. Hey, the way I see it, they're going to be at least, up to par and up to level coming out of there. I read an article today, went back and found that I had never read it before. It's from December of 2023. It was an article interviewing Neil Brown and talking about just that, So I think that what way he said it in the article was, look, we have 85 scholarships back then. It was December 2023. We have 85 scholarships, and we have so many set aside for high school talent, for high school players. But if there's somebody in a transfer portal that we highly recruited, and we wanted them at our school, and they go somewhere else and they're going to hit the portal after 1 year, we've got things set aside waiting for them too. So it's like he kind of told me, and in the article, he's talked about how we're not actively after the transfer portal, but if there's a player that comes in that we had on our radar, we're going to take them.
Yep.
So that tells me that maybe last year Benny Bishop was on his radar, obviously, but like this year, so he's gotten a couple of guys from Northwestern. Were those guys on his radar? Because the way that article was written, it sounded like he said, I don't really go after the transfer portal unless it's somebody I've recruited, that I know, I've watched, I think they'll fit into the program, and then I get them.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. I've heard him say it too. He either has to know them or he knows somebody else that knows them. Like if they played for a coach that he has a good relationship with, or something along those lines, because he's so, and the reason that is, Joey, is because, and I'm sure you know this, the locker room. He wants to have a strong locker room because he knows how important that is. That's like today I was talking about Colorado and why I don't think Colorado will be very good. You can't just switch out your roster 50 guys for 50 guys every year and expect to have any chemistry. I mean, how do you have chemistry? And I think in college football, especially on the offensive line and positions like that where everybody has to work together, how do you have a team without good chemistry and good camaraderie and a good culture? I just don't know. I could be completely wrong, and Deion Sanders could end up winning 10 games. I don't know. But Neil Brown to me, and that's why I think West Virginia will still be able to succeed in the new landscape, because Neil Brown is a culture builder, right? He's not going to be recruiting a whole lot of 5-star guys anyway, right?
Right.
They get 3-star guys in and some 4 stars, they coach them up, they get them better, and what they do is they try to build a culture and make it as such to where those guys don't want to leave. So when those SEC and Big Ten schools start calling them, trying to pluck them away, they're not answering the telephone because they don't want to go to those schools because they love it at West Virginia. They're happy, and and they're making a little NIL money too because Country Roads Trust has gotten better and they're doing big things. Did you hear the latest announcement, by the way, about the pub?
No, what was that?
As far as I know, this is the first one in the country. There's going to be a pub called the Goat Country Roads Pub opening up right beside the stadium in Suncrest Town Center in Morgantown, near the stadium. I don't know if right beside it, but near the stadium, within walking distance, I think. I'm not super familiar with Morgantown, but I'm pretty sure it's within walking distance. Some of the proceeds from that pub are going to Country Roads Trust NIL Collective.
Yeah.
So it's
and there's been a
like
lot of businesses doing that.
So,
a
so
lot
fans, fans will be able to go into that pub and have a beer, eat a burger, have some fries, hang out before the game. And oh, by the way, a huge chunk of that money you spend is going to the athletes.
Right.
I mean, that's genius to me. Like that's a great idea. And apparently, the guy who is going to run the pub. It was his idea. He approached Country Roads Trust with the idea, and they worked it out. But
Well, now something that's interesting because I think a lot of businesses are going to go to that model of doing things like that because let's face it, I'm a Mountaineer fan, and I'm a member of Country Roads Trust, but I wish I could give more. But guess what? If I can go and eat a burger, I don't know, at some fast food joint, and they're going to give a portion of that to our NIL collective, I'm probably going to eat there versus McDonald's or somewhere if I'm just trying to grab a quick burger somewhere, right?
Yep.
Just say that. I know with I run top quality shirts, our quality network merchandise, and when we have a lot of contributors that are in that network, that when we sell the merchandise, well, on our network there's an option to tip. And you can tip to if you buy a shirt or something, you have an option to tip, and I think it says you can tip me or something, but it's not tipping me. What I've decided to do is take that money and give it to the West Virginia Children's Hospital. Now it's not going to go. It's not to go to the NIL collective,
right?
Because I already support that. So I figured I'll give this to the Children's Hospital. So anybody that would ever buy a shirt or anything from our place that would go a tip in there, and we get a few tips. I mean, I'm not saying we're breaking the bank or anything, but we get a few tips. To me, it doesn't matter if I send them $5 or $5 million. I've sent them something and helped them out in some way or another.
Right.
So anybody that buys a shirt from our network. So I think a lot of businesses in West Virginia will start going around that model of the NIL collective and helping the NIL. I really do. I could even see. Could you even see lawyers doing it and just saying, "Hey, choose me as your lawyer because a portion of anything that you pay me, I'm going to send to the NIL collective or whatever." I mean, or you win. I'm going to get 33%, but I'm going to send 3% of that to the NIL collective.
Yeah,
I could see a lot of places a lot of businesses that could do this, and I think a lot of businesses. I think it's going to be a couple of years down the road, but I could see a lot of businesses coming into this NIL collective and making that a part of their business.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have a beer, then they got a bourbon, and now they have a pub. So, what's next, right? What's the next iteration of that?
Well, I tell you, the collective is doing an amazing job. I still haven't got my stuff, and we talked about it. You said you got yours. I still haven't got it, and I emailed them, and I never even got an email back. But that's okay. Wow. I don't care about that stuff, But just kind of crazy that I can't get through to them at all.
It is,
and nobody else is having that trouble, but I am.
Yeah, it took it was a while. It took a while for mine to come in, but it finally came in. But I mean, it's not any.
So I joined the collective in February, I think. I think was my first month, February, and still, haven't received nothing.
Yeah, I joined in December, and it was probably, I don't know, it was 2 or 3 months. It took me about 3 months. I don't remember the exact timing, but it was a while. It took a few months for me to get my stuff, but Anyway, I didn't, I didn't even care to be honest
Yeah,
with
no,
you.
I don't either. I don't. It doesn't matter. to
But
me.
it is, but I mean, still, they should honor it. I mean, they promise you something. They should.
Oh, I'm sure they will. I'm sure. But anyway, we got Talkus Pitt in the house. What is he saying here? I'm good, Jackson. Just working on content. Oh, okay. Something, Jackson. But he says hello, everyone. Talkus Pitt. Appreciate you being here. LW in the house. Appreciate you, LW, for being here. Silas. He says, "What's up, Joey and Coos?" Appreciate you, Silas. And of course, we got Justin here. Um, Justin comes in here and posts all of our links and everything for us. Does a great job. Pokemon Kid Entertainment. Appreciate you being here, Pokemon Kid. Wanda E. Wanda, a great friend. Appreciate you, Wanda. Appreciate you coming in and supporting us tonight. If I'm missing people, I'm sorry. I'm not really paying a lot of attention to chat. Sitting here with Coos. If you're sitting here talking to Coos Walker, you pay attention to Coos Walker. So I apologize, guys. All right, so Coos, we've got about 15 minutes left. Let me talk about something else. Let's break down your thoughts on the Big 12 this year, just out of curiosity. I'm trying to find where I've got this. I'm gonna bring this up. Oops, not that. Let me find it. All right. So I went through all that to tell you this. I wanted to bring the teams up in alphabetical order. Let's start at the top. Let's just do an alphabetical order. All right, Arizona. I know Arizona's got a brand new coach coming in with Brett Brennan, but they got quarterback Noah Fafita, that's been there since 1849. Defensive back Maldonado, thinks how they say that. Linebacker Manu, wide receiver McMillan, and stuff. So Arizona's loaded with talent, absolutely loaded with talent. But a new head coach, new offensive scheme, new defensive scheme, new everything coming into Arizona. What do you expect out of Arizona this year?
I think I got Arizona 8-4 on the year, 6-3 in the Big 12. I think them and West Virginia are similar teams, with the exception of the coaching part, obviously. But as far as record and where I think they finish in the league, I think they're going to be close. I think they're pretty similar talent-wise. Obviously, West Virginia doesn't have a Tetairoa McMillan at wide receiver, but, I mean, when you look at talent across the board is what I'm referring to. I think Arizona has a talent to compete for a Big 12 championship, but the fact they have a new staff, I don't think they will, because I think it takes a year or two to gel, right? Staff with players, players with staff, vice versa. But I do think they'll be good. They won 10 games a year ago. I don't think they're winning 10 games this year with a new coaching staff.
Jackson Johnson wants to come in with us. How you doing, Jackson?
I'm doing a lot better. How you doing, gents?
Doing well.
All right, so all right, Coos, let's move on to Arizona State. Head coach Kenny Dillingham. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know of anything extravagant coming back, but I do like the running back's name, Cameron Scatibo.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah, he's good.
So, what do you expect out of Arizona State year one in the Big 12?
Not much. I mean, I think Kenny Dillingham's doing a good job recruiting there, but I mean, he's going to have 40 or 50 new guys. Very little, returning production. They're rebuilding a program that was hit with scandal a couple of years ago under the Herm Edwards era. So it's going to take him some time, but I do like Kenny Dillingham's approach. I think they'll give him a long leash because they understand what he's up against. But I see them winning probably 3 games this year, ballpark. If I had to guess, and they have Arizona State schedule is brutal. I mean, it might be as tough as West Virginia's, or real close.
Their schedule is as tough as Utah's is easy.
Correct.
How's that?
Correct.
All right, then there's the hottest coach on the seat probably in the nation, Dave Aranda at Baylor. And I'll be honest, I don't know of a bunch of talent returning at Baylor that's like going to be chart topping and stuff. You got your wide receiver, Ketron Jackson, the running back, Richard Reese. Other than that, Keaton Thomas, that his name? Yeah, the linebacker. What did you expect out of Baylor?
Probably, I think they win about 5 games, ballpark. Might make a bowl game. I do like them bringing in Jake Spavital as OC. We remember him well, Joey, in his days at West Virginia. I like the fact that Dave Aranda's taken over the play calling on defense. I think that's a smart move. Dave Aranda's a defensive guru. He's probably one of the best defensive minds in the country. So I do think Baylor's going to move in the right direction, but I still don't think they have the talent on the roster this season to be at the top of the league. I still think they'll be, middle to near the bottom of the league again. Unfortunately, will that be enough to save Dave Aranda's job? I don't know. To me, if I'm trying to put myself in Mac Rhodes' shoes, to me, if I see improvement, Baylor's recruiting extremely well now. I mean, they're bringing in all kinds of four-star guys right now, and they've embraced. Dave Aranda has finally started to embrace NIL more. He's willing to pay guys more, and that's helping them in recruiting. So if they can win 5-6 games with the recruiting improving the way it is, I think they'll keep Dave Aranda another year. Now, if they have another 3-win season, maybe not. But if they can win 5-6 games and just keep recruiting the way they're recruiting, I think he'll be fine. But I'm predicting Baylor's going to finish probably with about 5 wins on the year, if I had to guess.
All right. Another newcomer from last year, BYU head coach Sataki. They have some. Well, look, when you talk about BYU, you got to talk about big old men, right? These are 24, 25-year-old men out there in the field. They've been on mission. They've been out there saving the world. And they come back and they're ready to play some football, and they're grown-ass men. Mm-hmm. And they might be a little bit slower than an 18, 19-year-old, but if they get their hands on the 18, 19-year-old, it's a different story. So they got defensive end Tyler Beatty.
He's good.
Yep. He's real good, isn't he? He's really good. They got defensive back Jacob Robinson. Yeah, they've got some good players. Can BYU put it together this year and make a bowl game?
I predict no. I don't think they got it this year. I really don't. I don't think they have the depth yet. I think they'll get there, but I'm not sure if they're willing. I heard an interview with a BYU media guy yesterday on 365, or 2 days ago maybe, but he said that he thinks if Kalani Sitake doesn't win 6 games, he's done at BYU. So he better win 6 games, but I honestly don't think they will. I don't think BYU's there yet. I still think they lack depth. I don't love what they have at quarterback. I don't love what they have, in the trenches. But, like you said, these are 25-year-old guys. They might prove me wrong. And BYU's one of those teams that can sneak up and bite you. So they may end up being a lot better than I think they are.
Right. All right. So now let's move on to UCF and head coach Gus Malzahn, who's probably one of the better coaches in the Big 12, in my opinion. I like Gus Malzahn. I think he's amazing.
Agreed.
The quarterback, KJ Jefferson, very, very good. Running back, RJ Harvey, very, very good. The wide receiver, Hudson, pretty damn good. And then you got to get into, you said, their linebacker and their pace. UCF's going to have a pretty good team this year. Now, is it going to be enough to finish in the top half of the Big 12?
Probably not, in my opinion. I think you see another 6-win season for UCF. Not because I don't think they're good. I think they have the skill position talent to beat a lot of teams, but I'm still not sold on their line of scrimmage, their offensive line, and their defense worries me a little bit. I'm not sure if they have the depth at defense yet this year. I do think they'll make a bowl game, probably win 3 to 4 games in the league, but I don't see them competing for the conference title. But you know what? Again, it's preseason, it's prognostications, and I might take a big L on this one because a lot of people are picking UCF to be good. But I'm still not quite there yet.
I'm like you. I can't buy into UCF right now. I mean, yes, I think they will be good. I think they will be one of the top half teams in the Big 12, maybe next year. But I don't see it this year. I can't buy into UCF. What was that, Jackson? I'm sorry.
Well, I was gonna say is that one week they play up to their opponents, then next week they always play down to their opponents.
Agreed.
Like they always do that, especially Malzahn teams.
Yeah,
they do that an awful lot.
That's fair. That's fair. And first top half the league, I guess you only got to finish top 8 now, I guess. But I see them probably in that 8-9 range in the league, probably. So they might be top half, but I don't see them competing for the conference title by any means.
All right.
Oh,
now let's move on to a team that for some reason sold a coach that I don't know. He didn't set the world on fire, and that's Cincinnati. They stole Scott Satterfield from Louisville for
Louisville.
some strange reason.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're
Louisville.
pitiful.
And for some strange reason. And, well, Cincinnati, I think everything I've seen is Cincinnati's finishing last in the Big 12 this year. Everything I've seen. I don't think they finished
I'm
last, but
I'm
I
not in
put
that.
them at the bottom three.
Yeah, I'm not in that camp. I think they're going to be middle of the pack, 6-win football team. I love Corey Kiner at running back. I think he might be the most underrated back in the country. Nobody ever talks about him. I mean, he doesn't even get. Coach Brown's complained about Jaheim White not getting enough love. Corey Kiner doesn't even get mentioned by anybody that I know of
Right.
outside of Cincinnati. He was 1,000
They
yard
do have
rusher.
that offensive lineman
Mhm.
too, Luke Kendra.
Yep, they have him.
Uh,
And on the defensive line, they've got Dante Corleone, that might be the best defensive lineman in the conference.
Yeah.
So I think Cincinnati. Again, they're not going to compete for the title, but I think they have enough there. I don't love the Satterfield decision, and they do now. They did lose a lot of guys with the portal because they weren't very good last year, and I think he wanted to lose some guys. But so again, it's another one of those situations where they're probably not going to have a lot of continuity. But I do because they have some core pieces back, and I've heard good things about the quarterback they brought in. I think his name's Brendan Sorsby, I believe. I don't know much about him, but I've heard he's really good. So if he's solid, and with the running game of Kiner and with Corleone anchoring that defensive line, I think they're a 6-win team potentially, and their schedule doesn't scare me either. I think they have some winnable games on their schedule. So.
All right, now let's go to a glorified Dana Holgerson and primetime Deion Sanders at Colorado. And the reason I call him a glorified Dana Holgerson, makes a lot of noise, comes in, starts making changes, pulls in some great offensive players, can play some good offense, but can't coach a football team. Can't be a head coach. So let's talk about that. Now, they do have a quarterback, Shedeur Sanders, Deion's son, amazing quarterback, really, really good. They have their safety, Shiloh Sanders. Yeah, so I mean, it's a team loaded with Sanders. Can Colorado and the fighting primetime Deion Sanders do anything this year?
I have them at 4 wins again. I just don't. Their schedule's tough. You're bringing in 1,000 new guys, and I know I'm being facetious there, but show me where the offensive line is going to be better this year than it was a year ago. I don't. I mean, maybe it will be, but how do I know that? Because you got rid of everybody and brought in a bunch of new guys. Well, how do I know the new guys are better? You did the same thing last year, and they weren't any good last year. So I got to see it to believe it with them. They got probably the best player in all of college football in Travis Hunter, one of the best quarterbacks in Shedeur Sanders. They've got great wide receivers, Joe Horn being one of those, good running backs, good skill position players. But again, can their defense and their offensive line do anything? And I'm not convinced they can. So until they prove they can, I'm just not buying them. And they've got, like I said, they got to go to Nebraska in one of their out of conference games. And Matt Rule's in year 2 at Nebraska. I wouldn't want to play them right now. So
No.
Matt Rule is really good.
So
Matt Rule is a really, really good football coach, and in year 2 of his programs, he always does really good. So,
there's actually only one more program that I think is getting overlooked in the Big 12, and I want to talk about them before you have to go, and I have to go. For those of you in the chat, we do have trivia coming up here in about 15 minutes on this same channel. I'll be hosting trivia. It's just general knowledge, some sports. Hey, our sports category tonight is NASCAR. If you're a NASCAR fan, we can win some nice prizes. Anyway, so one more team I want to talk about with you, Coos, a team I think everybody's overlooking, Iowa State. Matt Campbell has done an amazing job. Iowa State was a team that was never even talked about. They were in the bottom of the barrel, like, I don't know, Bowling Green. All right, nobody ever talked about it. Matt Campbell comes in and Iowa State starts making some noise. And he's got a team this year that, from what I can gather, is like 7th-year seniors from tackle to tackle. Not only that, but just amazing players across the board. And this is a senior-laden team that's going to be very, very good in Iowa State.
Yeah, I like Iowa State. I think they are a dark horse to win the conference. I like Rocco Becht at quarterback. I like their wide receiver. They got a really good receiver. I never can think of his daggone name, but he's really good.
Higgins, Jaden Higgins.
Yes, Jalen Higgins. Yeah, that's it. No, I'm not sure why I can't remember that kid's name. Never can. But anyway,
The other one is Jalen Noel.
Jalen Noel.
Noel.
Yeah, he's good too. And then they got the Osama kid at running back who's supposed to be really good. He finished the season strong last year. And Iowa State's defense is always really good now, because they got John Heacock back there. Now, the one thing I'm concerned about with them is they lost their offensive coordinator to I think he went to the NFL actually. So, can they have the same offensive production they had a year ago with Becht and those in that group? Time will tell. To me, that's going to be when you change coordinators, the team could be better, they could be worse. You never know what's going to happen. But I know they're going to be good on defense. So a team that's going to be good on defense is going to win some football games. So I've got Iowa State actually as one of the teams contending for the conference title this year for that reason, and because I like Rocco Becht at quarterback. And I've got and their schedule's not all that hard to me. So you take all that into account, I think Iowa State's probably going to win 9 to 10 football games this year. That's might be a hot take to some people, but I believe they have the ability to do that.
Yep. Talking to Couz's Corner talking to Couz Walker from Couz's Corner. Get that right. Couz, I really appreciate you joining me tonight. And
absolutely,
I know you told me you could only stay till about 8:45. I've held you over about 2 minutes, but tell everybody else because I know you've got websites and you got podcasts and I'll tell everybody where to find you. And listen, guys, the Couz is one of the best out there, right? I mean, there's no doubt about it. Couz has got an amazing channel over there. He does a really good job covering West Virginia football. A lot better job than me because, look, I'm not consistent. I just come on here and have fun with you guys. Couz is doing this very seriously. You need to tune into Couz anytime he puts a video out. And I'm serious because it's going to be full of knowledge, and he's going to have a great guest. I mean, my goodness gracious, some of these guests he gets on his show are amazing. So, Couz, congratulations on all that.
Thank you.
One more time, just tell everybody where to find you at.
Yeah, I'm on Couz's Corner on YouTube, obviously, and then I'm website Couz'sCorner.com. I'm on Twitter at Couz206, Instagram Couz's Corner 206. Thanks to Jackson for putting all this on the screen so I can read it. I'm on TikTok at Couz's Corner, and I have my own website. I think I already mentioned that, Couz'sCorner.com. But anyway, yeah, I'm everywhere, man. But the place you'll find me the most active is X. I'm on there too much, actually. It's kind of an addiction. I'm on there arguing with people, either defending West Virginia or opening my big fat mouth about politics and getting myself in trouble. One of the two. But anyway.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I'm going to be interviewing Joe Manchin this Thursday. It won't be political. It won't be political. We never talk politics. We talk football. Former Mountaineer and stuff. But
hey, see if he can pull any strings and get us into SEC. That's what I want you to ask him.
That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? I do have an interesting question.
A man can dream, can he? Right?
Did you? I know, Couz, you probably didn't. But when was that? Was that last night? Maybe. Hell, I don't remember when it was. It might have been last night. I did a show and was talking about the next president of West Virginia University, and I mentioned Joe Manchin. Why not? I mean, he's getting out of politics. He's retiring. Same time Gordon Gee's retiring.
He's almost as old as Gordon Gee. We don't need nobody 77, 78 years old. No offense to old people, but
right, I agree. So, I mean, and I went over my list of candidates in last night's show. Go back and watch that and get my list out, and send me your feedback on my list of candidates for president. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, and we can talk about that someday in the show. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream for tonight. And Jackson, I apologize, brother. We brought you in. I brought you in. You didn't get to say much, but I got to go do trivia, and Couz has got to get out of here, brother.
It's all right, man. It's all good. It is all good.
You're going to
recovering from a sickness, so it's all good and well.
Glad you're feeling better, man. I didn't realize you were under the weather.
Oh, thank you, man.
Thanks for everything. Thanks for everything you do for the YouTube community, man. You're very loyal to everybody. And also what you're doing over on your show too. I mean, heck, the Jacksonian doing good work over there. So Appreciate you.
You know, I don't know where he finds the time to do the stuff he does. Do you realize? All right, so I've been with Mark Rogers for a lot of years, and I go into all his streams just about, you know, at some point, just to say hi, bye, kiss my ass, whatever. I just go in there for a second, and did this for years. Jackson's in there posting links. I mean, there could be 5 lives going on at the same time. He's posting in all of them, and then on top of that, as soon as them streams are over, I see a video drop on his channel. I'm like, how the hell is he doing this? What's he sitting there? Is he moderating these chats on 5 different channels that are live at the same time and making a video at the same time? I mean,
Jackson, I'm a little bit worried about you, man. I think you might have a problem.
I love you, Jackson.
You might need an intervention. You're YouTubers Anonymous.
Yeah, YouTubers Anonymous. All right. Anyway, guys, everyone, I appreciate you being here. Everyone have a great night. And we will see you next time.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make it